Hello and welcome, random strangers with internet connection. This is my channel, Ride It Out, and I'm Duncan, and yeah, it's all going to be about bikes. And to start off with, we're going to go for beginner budget bikes. What's the best beginner budget bike that's out there? Hands down, and in my opinion, it's one of these. Sinus Apache, also known as Lexmoto Adrenaline, Pulse Adrenaline. There's so many different names for it, it's unreal. Basically, they're just copies of a Suzuki DR125, but given a facelift, better front suspension, and just in general, I'd probably say more updated version of the Suzuki DR125, which came out in 1985. So I'm going to break this video down. I'm just going to give a quick little overview of it, why I believe it is, then I'll do a quick little walk around / ride. That'll be about 11 minutes or so, and so you'll be able to see me riding it about as well. And then after that, we'll do the little takes on what I honestly think with it. Yeah, it's important to note this is my first ever video, so I have no idea what I'm doing, so just bear with me. But yeah, so basically I find that the Sinus Apache is actually a really good beginner bike. It's raw, it's basic, it's just an engine, a frame, 2 wheels and some plastics. It looks good, it goes pretty well. It'll do everything you need it to do on the road. They've got a Suzuki GN125 engine, clone of it, which is in here, and again, it's been pretty bulletproof. You can redline these things like crazy and just have fun with them, or you could pool around. They're not super duper fast, but again, it doesn't have traction control, doesn't have stability management, doesn't have ride by wire. You can't link your phone to it. It literally is 1985 looking a bit better than 1985 without doing a whole retroness. So yeah, what can I say about it? Basically, they're really good bikes. They're supermotos, which means they're sort of like dirt bikes with road wheels on it. One of the best things you can do, which for me anyway at least, is get the off-road set of wheels. So you can use this bike for green laning as well. So it really does do well with it. Bear with me because I have the 21-inch wheel and I'm 5'7", so being 5'7", the bike's actually pretty tall as it is. Chucking a 21-inch wheel on the front of it makes it quite high, so I didn't want to get the 18-inch blade wheel, so I just got this big old chunky dirty knobbly on the back. Does pretty well. So yeah, it's basically real simplistic in its greatest form, and that's mainly the reason why I believe it's really good for newbies and beginners. Also, it's so simple to work on. I mean, these tools behind me, you get that as you go along. But basically, it's good. It's peppy, it's pokey, it's cheap to run, really cheap to run. And even then, I actually just find that it's a good laugh. And I've got a full bike license, I ride bigger bikes, and I really enjoy this bike. I still have great fun with it, especially down the lanes. Mine is red, it's not standard colour, seat cover, all of that, we'll go over it in the video, but without any further ado, let's go out, have a ride.
Okay, so this is my bike, yeah, 2015 Sinus Apache. I've painted it red. Why do I think these are great beginner bikes? Well, I put the Supermoto wheels on just so that you can actually see the actual characteristics alike. And yes, it is filthy, but I've been using it through the lanes. So, it's a copy of a Suzuki GN125 engine, which is just down there. I have got the additional added option of the DEP S3 pipe. It's a full system, comes up there, and yeah, it's basically a really simple little bike. Okay, I mean, I put some handlebar risers and guards and whatnot. That's a really good mod, because when you stand up you really kind of want that extra height. They're really low handlebars. Seat cover, I actually cut down the rear mudguard because I don't have any L plates. One sprocket down on the front, and I'm running the Supermoto tyres, not my Enduro tyres, which is quite important to note. I wanted to basically give a good representation of what the bike is actually like, with its standard Supermoto tyres, so you've actually got a good idea of what it's really like. So, this is the carburetted model, so it's a bit more basic, but admittedly it probably gives you less drama and grief than EFI. And once they're warmed up, they do start up quite well. So, let's, without further ado, get out of here. Why do I recommend this bike? Well, it's a bike that if you were to drop, you're not going to cry. You know, you're not going to be like, oh my god, I've just smashed all my fare and just going to set me back 300 to 400 quid. Yeah, in general, it's everything you're going to want and need out of a little 125, especially when you're just starting. Because if you were to buy a brand new bike and you're a complete novice, you will drop it. You will drop it and you will possibly cry in the corner quietly. This just doesn't weigh much anyway, so it's a lot easier to manoeuvre, and when you're just starting out, these are surprisingly heavy. They're not, even though this one's light, but what I mean by it is you've not got the experience of manoeuvring something that's heavier than a push bike. What I do is I put it down so you can understand, because if you drop this, stop here, let's just turn the petrol tap off. Right, I'm going to lay it on its side, boom. Blasphemy, but this is something as a newbie that you will come across, and it is always a lot harder to, probably thinking what the, it is always hard to lift up a bike, but with this, look, it's as simple as that, straight up, that's it, no more getting it into the, getting petrol everywhere, but it's that simple to lift back up, and as you can see, your handlebars will take most of the brunt of it. It's mechanically, this thing is so simple, and because it's so simple, you learn the basics. So your chain tensioning, like your oil changes, spark plugs, just the little dinky bits, and as you upgrade things like the handlebar risers and all that kind of stuff, you learn as you go. But all these skills are like absolutely invaluable when you get into the bigger bikes and stuff like that. So that's why I say that with these bikes, it's just such a good beginner bike. Right, so why do I believe this is a really good beginner bike? Like, look at that is agile. And then if you stand up, just as agile. In fact, it's good because you get to learn how to ride standing up, which you don't really do on many street bikes, but with these bikes, I mean, it is super. And also, you sit quite high up. I mean, you've got the whole position where you can lean forwards for the turns, you can lean back, you know, all the little kind of stuff. It's peppy. You can get 70 out of these, but you just need a good steep hill and some nice tailwinds, as they say. But no, the reason I say that these are brilliant beginner bikes is just quite simply, you're up high. So because you're up high, you can sort of see 2-3 car lengths ahead, which even an expert will tell you is just brilliant. Like, it's a godsend, really. And like, it is fast enough to cope with traffic. Well, you're not going to be having loads of people behind you going, God, get out of the way, unless you sort of get on the motorway. But the only downside I would actually say is if you're under 5'7", it's a bit of a tall bike. The other thing that I like about it is it, you know, it does go, and it is really agile, you know. Like here I'm doing about, where am I, about 45, 5th gear chilling. I'm not ragging it, but why I believe it's good for beginners as well is you've got your gear indicator, and as a newbie you're going to want that, I'm not going to lie, because you'll forget what gear you're in and you won't know which one's neutral, and it does light up to let you know which is neutral, which is, again, as a newbie, something you'll probably want. It's the other good thing about biking that you newbies will soon appreciate. Some people will just want to let you pass, they don't want to mess about with your life. Others really don't care. but some people are actually genuinely really nice and let you go on. But yeah, so you know, the thing pulls quite well up hills. It's not overwhelming power. It does sound really nice, if I do say so myself, which I do. And yeah, it's also just really basic. So you basically got 2 wheels, a frame, an engine, and some little plastics, and that basically makes up your bike. It's not complex, it's not complicated, really easy to maintain. The parts are just everywhere. Now this is actually a bit of a hill. As you can see, it's just got no quarrels, no dramas, no nothing. It's just, yeah, it's just raw basic biking in its simplest form. And the other thing that I love with this is, yes, you can get enduro wheels for it. It's a bit hard to get the 21-inch wheel, but I do have it. But you can then take this green laning, and you can really have a lot of fun with green laning. And the reason that I say that's important to note is because with this bike, it's almost like you've got 2 in 1. You can take it to the street like this, all supermoto styley, and you know, ride like a proper road bike, all that kind of stuff, like super agile, really flickable, and you can stand up and practice all your slow manoeuvres and all of that stuff. And yeah, then you can put some dirt tyres on it and you can rag it through the green lanes, or at a respectable speed without being a dick, and have great fun with that too. So effectively you've got one bike that does 2 jobs. And the reason I say that is a really good thing is for the simple reason that you got effectively two types of bikes that take up 1 space in the garage bar the other set of wheels. But they're just so simple to work on. And the parts with these, well, they're brilliant. Like, they're dirt cheap. Maybe not the side plastic, which is why I haven't got it, but they're cheap. They are so cheap, and they're everywhere too. And because they're cheap and they're everywhere, it means that you can take this bike literally, like, I know it's going to sound a bit crazy, a bit balmy, but you could take this bike around the world and still get parts, just like you would a Honda Cub. Reason being, it's a copy of a Suzuki DR125, which is a bike from the mid-80s. You know, nothing too fanciful there. But it's a bike from the mid-80s, and it sold really well. R&D got done, they sold the licensing on. Now you've got Sinis and Pulse and Superbike and all that kind of stuff making it. But they've, to be honest, made it better than the original, in my honest opinion. But yeah, so because it is a copy of a Suzuki DR125, the parts are everywhere from Suzuki. I mean, you've got Lex Motor, you've got Pulse, you've got everybody else in Sinis doing it, so you can get the parts there, but it's everywhere. Aftermarket parts, that's everywhere too, which is brilliant, because there's a phenomenal amount of choice. Like, you are not stuck for it. It's like you're picking your bunch, mate. As you've seen with mine, it's already modified. I mean, I've swapped it over to the Supermoto just because I wanted to show what handling characteristics you'll get from it just as stock. And yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's a great little bike. You can have so much fun with it. So that's why I recommend it for a newbie, because it's not overwhelming, it's not daunting. You can see above other cars when you're riding. You can learn to manoeuvre the bike. I mean, you sit on it, not in it, and you can, like, you know, one-handed, look. It's agile, it's fun, crazy fun. And I got, you know, my full license. I ride bigger bikes, and this is still just a right little laugh to have a go on. But can you get these things going? Yeah. Basically, you start off as a newbie and it's not overwhelming. And the more experience you get, then basically you learn how to ride this thing quick, and you'll be very quick on a 300. As in, like, you'll keep up with most people on a 600. It looks the part, feels the part, It's a fraction of the cost as to what you would get for a KTM and whatnot. And I get it, you know, I often hear it, oh, what, could you not afford a Honda? One, no, and two, Toolbox Red was the cheapest one in Halfords, so and it matches my rear shock. That's literally it. Right, that's all I've got to say about this thing. Alright.
So for a fraction of the price, it's not quite KTM. Yeah, you're going to notice a few little bits and bobs. I mean, the plastics and everything like that, yeah, they're durable, they're good, and everything like that is good. But if you actually took a look at a KTM and you compare and contrast against these things, these are budget bikes. Brand new, they're about £2,200, but you can pick one up now for about 700 quid in half decent condition. You could do a little service to it and be out riding for under £1,000. So yeah, it's a budget bike. Everything about it is budget. But is it bad? No. Is it good for a budget? Yeah, I think it's actually brilliant for a budget. Are there better bikes out there? Yes, massively. But within the price range? Nah. Even then, you got other stuff like, say, Yamaha WRs, even like KTM RCs, higher end of 125 markets. You're paying £5,000 for one of those. These are 2,200 brand new. Is there much of a difference between them? Maybe the plastics join up just that little bit better on one of those YZF-R 125s and stuff, but top speed of those is maybe another 10 mile an hour. It's not enough to warrant, in my opinion, all that extra money that you go and throw into it. Also, those kind of bikes, if you drop them, they're going to cost you an arm and a leg because they're Yamaha. This is Suzuki. It is Suzuki underneath. But yeah, it's basically the licenses got sold on. It was a bike from 1985, had a bit of a revamp, and then this is where you go. As I say, it is my first video. Next video will be off-roading this thing, so I'm going to have to swap the wheels out and everything like that. And yeah, so let me know what you think. Leave a comment, click subscribe, you know, hit all notification bells and all that other malark. As I say, I'm new to it, but it will really help me out anyway. But until then, ride it out.